Hello boys and girls and welcome back to another video. Today I want to show you some of my favorite strategy games of all times, games that I enjoy most playing over the last couple years. First of all, games are not in particular order, and second, if some of your favorite strategy game is not on this list, well, I'm so sorry guys. With all that said, let's just jump straight in. First game I want to talk about is World in Conflict. It's a 2007 game developed by the Swedish video game company Massive Entertainment and published by Vivendi Games for Microsoft Windows. Game reminds me most of the Ground Control series and is considered by some to be its spiritual successor. Game takes place in 1989 where Soviet Union invaded Western Europe and triggered the World War III. Player in a campaign takes role of a US Army officer who take command of a battalion of US and NATO forces. The main bulk of their operation focuses on combating surprise invasion of the USA from Seattle and Washington, as well as operation in France, Russia and New York. In 2009, the expansion pack Soviet Invasion added additional campaign mission in which player assumed role of a Soviet military officer. Next game on our list is Supreme Commander, real-time strategy game designed by Chris Taylor and developed by his company Guess Power Game. Game is considered to be spiritual successor of Taylor's 1997 game Total Annihilation. Game is focused most on using a giant mech, calling Armor Command Unit or ACU, to build base, then upgrading units to reach higher technology tiers and conquering your opponents. The player can command one of three factions: Eon Illuminates, Cyber Nation or United Earth Federation. All units and structures belong to one of four technology tiers, or simply tech levels, each tier being stronger and more efficient than previous. There are only two types of resources required to wage war: energy and mass. Single-player campaign consists of 18 missions, 6 for each faction. Despite a low number of campaign missions, each mission can be potentially played for hours. Game uses a strategic zoom system that allows players to zoom from detailed close-up view of individual units all the way out to a view of entire map. Supreme Commander Expansion Forge Alliance functions as a standalone game in its own right, bring broad variety of extra features to original title. There is an all-new single-player campaign, innovative multiplayer features, more maps, one entirely new factions, and over 100 new units. Because Dawn of War 2 ditches the base building, its predecessor has become a standard bearer for fans of build orders who miss that particular flavor of RTS. Dawn of War is RTX accelerated. Instead of marching individual soldiers out of the barracks one at a time and click-dragging them into control groups, they came in ready-made squads. And if you want squad to be bigger, you can teleport more troops in while in the field. The base game story builds to something unexpected. While Winter Assault expansion is very much for the fans of Imperial Guard, but where it's really shine it's Dark Crusade expansion's campaign mode, which has 6 factions fighting over persistent maps where you return to one of your territories under siege and find all defenses you built last time waiting for you. If that's not enough, the Soulstorm expansion adds 2 more factions and has received the most love from modding community. The Ultimate Apocalypse mode takes away the unit caps and ups the scale even more. It's definitely the 40k in its final form. Company of Heroes 2 was great, but it didn't quite match the magic of the predecessor. Then Ardennes Assault came along and it's for sure one of the best RTS games you can play. The US forces and German Oberkommando are fighting over control of the Ardennes in a campaign inspired by the Battle of Bulge. While the campaign is only played from American point of view, the US forces are split into 3 companies, all with unique specializations, covering air support and mechanized roles. Even if you focus on one, the other 2 will still be on a map and can provide assistance by blocking the enemy retreat. Previously, winning was all that mattered. Finish the mission and you move on to the next one, starting fresh. Ardennes Assault is persistent campaign though, and losses in battle can bring down company veterancy and manpower. There is even a risk of being wiped out entirely, leaving the other two companies to face Germans alone. Total War Warhammer 2 is a strategy game of titanic proportions, choosing from many unique races and factions and wage war your way, mounting a campaign of conquest to save or destroy a vast and beautiful fantasy world. Warhammer 2 is an incredibly massive game, made even larger by an assortment of DLCs. The game is played in two halves: the strategy map, where you manage your empire, cities and units in a turn-based grand strategy style gameplay, and real-time battles when two or more armies meet. Warhammer 2 is one of the games that is relatively easy to pick up but very hard to master. If you are a fan of strategies, you'll be up and running in no time. However, you still get hundreds of hours of play time before you truly master it. While it has its own set of factions and its own campaign map, its true glory is arguably in its Mortal Empires campaign, which mashed together the maps and factions sets for both games for a beautifully plotted experience. Even for the total newcomers to the series, Total War Warhammer 2 is absolutely worth playing, especially if you're already a fan of strategy games. This is perfect time to grab both games and get caught up and prepared for Total War Warhammer 3 that is coming this year. XCOM 2 is a sequel to the XCOM Enemy Unknown. Aliens have invaded and humanity has been conquered. Now you are not leading Earth's defenses, you're leading its last resistant movement. 20 years has passed since the original game events, with Earth now ruled by the alien-human dictatorship known as Advent. The game takes place on the two levels: strategic base management and overworld operations and tactical battles. The core gameplay remains the same, sending a squad on missions that play out turn by turn on a grid-based map. Getting your tactics and positioning correct is a key, otherwise your squad will be torn apart and lost forever. On a strategic layer, you will decide on construction projects taking place in your base, manage research and engineering, and address crises appearing on a world map. During missions, human and alien teams take alternative turns, and thanks to several XCOM soldier classes and many different alien types, each new scenario is an interesting tactical battle with a high stakes and kill counts. XCOM 2 is a genre-defining game, and you will struggle to find anything better. You would find plenty of debate about which modern Civilization game was better, Civ 5 or Civ 6, but with the release of a Gathering Storm expansion, this 6th entry of the series is finally able to stand proud as a great strategy game worthy of note. You can't have a best strategy games list without a bit of Civilization. The biggest change this time around is a district system, which unstructs the cities in a way its predecessors unstruck the armies. Cities are now those sprawling things full of specialized area that force you to really think about the future when you're developing tiles. They introduced the concept of Golden Ages and Dark Ages, giving you the bonuses and debuffs depending on your civilization development across the years, as well as climate change and environmental disasters. There is still that one more turn feel that makes this kind of game so addictive. Civilization 6 offers a lot more mechanics to bring the world to life around you. This is definitely a strategy game for modern times. What's not to love about the game that pits armored cowboys against xenomorphic aliens and space elves? StarCraft 2 is a classic base building RTS that tasks you with gathering resources, building armies and killing your enemy before they kill you, with quick decisions and even quicker mouse clicks. The story is well placed, and strategy and resource management missions will lock you into finishing the game. StarCraft 2 unleashes the Terran, Zerg and Protoss forces across 3 campaigns: Wings of Liberty, Heart of Swarm and Legacy of Void, as well as co-op commander missions and extensive multiplayer. StarCraft 2 is one of the best multiplayer games on a PC. Your enemies are human, they're probably able to click faster than you, issuing orders quicker than you, you'll probably lose a lot, die a lot, but you'll get better the more you play. It's easily one of the most iconic RTS games to date. Crusader Kings 3 is a huge grand strategy game, more polished and cohesive than a venerable Crusader Kings 2, and quite a bit easier on eyes too. At first glance it might seem a bit too familiar, but even greater focus on role-playing and simulating the lifestyle of medieval nobles, along with a big bag of new and reconsidered features, the heart of Crusader Kings 3 lies in its personal, often hilarious stories. Will you see its power through military might, wealth, religious influence, diplomacy, or assassinations? It's up to you. Each character you play as has their own personality and lifestyle focus, and each member of your dynasty will shape their empire for better or worse. It's therefore a grand strategy game whose systems create real stories because they are about people rather than about flanking maneuvers. Crusader Kings games are strategy RPG hybrids. What that means is that while you are spending time commanding troops and conquering territories, you'll also worry about day-to-day life about your ruler you're controlling. It's only going to get larger and more ambitious as inevitable DLCs pile up, but even in its vanilla form, Crusader Kings 3 is a great storyteller, supported by countless complex systems. If you are not playing Crusader Kings games before, then Crusader Kings 3 is where you should start. It's by no means a simple game, but the tutorial, tooltips, and new layout will help you enormously. Deserts of Kharak take place long before the events of original Homeworld, but never feels overshadowed by what's to come. It's a journey across a vast desert, directed by your mission to save a civilization. Each battle is connected to the last, as well as the ones yet to be played. Every unit that survives will live to fight another day, in another mission, in persistent war for survival. Kharak itself, despite being a giant desert, is a fantastic planet-sized battlefield that does for the ground what original did for space. The addition of terrain and elevation replaced the three-dimensional battles of the previous games, with the sand dunes providing cover, hiding spots, and high ground from where you can unleash devastating attacks. Deserts of Kharak succeeds on almost every count. It's not only a terrific RTS that sets itself apart from the rest of the genre recent games, but it's also an excellent Homeworld game that reinvents the series while also recapturing its magic.